Ceramics 2 and 3, welcome back. Well, I sent you home with some supply kits, so let's take a look at what's actually inside. All right, so what we've got here is the bucket that you've gotten sent home with you. Some things are pretty self-explanatory, but let's just kind of unpack. So we have your tool kit, and inside, you know, some of the basic things that you might normally find: sponges, wooden modeling tools, a paddle. This is just like flexible plastic, and so we can use it like a credit card for scraping. I've cut it at a point so you can use it for a fine detail. And then most importantly is this mat here. And so this has some plastic bags in there, but also you're going to unfold it and you can see there's a shiny side and a canvas side. The shiny side goes onto the table, and this will be your work mat, so that you can protect whatever your table is, and this can get clay covered on it. What else do you have? All right, so you have the normal clay, right? Like pretty self-explanatory. You are responsible for keeping this nice and damp, so be careful about making sure it gets wrapped up and damp if it needs it. Black underglaze, right? And you know, there's not a lot, but we also don't usually use that much, and we can restock. Sketchbook, you know how to put these together, you do that. In your sketchbook, you will find that I put in around four of these small cards. These are watercolor paper, which brings me to actual watercolors. So I have given you actual watercolors because, as you notice, there's no underglaze in here besides the black. Well, it's kind of ridiculous or difficult to send home a bunch of different colors of underglaze to a wide amount of people. It's just not realistic. But what I am going to do this year is send you home some ceramic watercolors. These are not in this first kit pickup because right now they are a little bit damp still. And what's going to happen is these are going to dry out, and then they are going to function very similar to regular watercolors, except that these are underglaze, meaning that they will, once fired, be set, and then you put clear glaze right over them. So you notice you only have a small amount, so we aren't painting the whole piece. We're going to really be thinking about color as more of a watercolor approach this year. There are some blank areas, so you could mix your colors here. So these you'll pick these up maybe the first time you drop off something for firing, and you can apply this before your piece is fired, but I find it works really well on already fired work before you add your clear. So just kind of a heads up as you're planning, which brings me back to your watercolor and your watercolor kind of sheets. So as you're thinking about color for your project, you might want to practice mixing and applying with actual watercolors so that when it comes time to use the ceramic ones, you're a little more confident with how you would kind of dip your brush and load up some color. So that is what is in your kit. I hope that you are as excited as I am to take on ceramics while we are in distance learning. It is totally doable. It's going to have its own challenges, but it's also going to have its own really unique opportunities. And that's it. Enjoy your kit. See you around. Hey, let's talk about what some additional materials you might want to add to your supply kit. There are two things that you really need to have, and then there's a bunch of things that are nice to have but not critical. So let's take a look. Here's what else you need. You definitely need some sort of towel, and as you can see, it's probably going to get dirty, so choose something that is like an old rag. This isn't super big, right? A hand towel or something works perfectly fine. Just, again, something that it's okay to get kind of messy. You need some sort of container for water, so like a large yogurt cup works, or if you have like an old milk jug or laundry jug, you can just cut it, and this would work great too. I would try and find something bigger than, say, like a small cup, because this isn't going to hold a lot of water. You want to use this so you can not only use a sponge, but also potentially like quickly rinse your hands. So it's just nicer to have something that your hands can fit into. Now, I sent you home with 2 bags of plastic, but you are probably going to need more. I find that bread bags work great. Just wash them out and reuse them, and that's also just recycling. Besides that, those are the things that you really need to have. Towel, water holder, plastic bag. Here are the things that are nice to have but not critical. So I sent you home with a little scraper kind of thing, but I find I also really like old like gift cards, because as you can see, you can cut them into custom shapes. So if you have any, maybe just set them aside in your kit, and then if you need a specific shape, you can cut them just with regular scissors. Dental floss is really great for cutting into clay. right? So you don't need the whole container, you just need a length of it, maybe like the length of your arm. And I like to tie a weight or something on at least one end so that I know what it's for. Sometimes I find a fork can be useful for scratching the clay. It's not, again, not absolutely necessary. It might just come in handy. And then a spray bottle is really nice to help keep your clay damp. Any size works, right? A tiny one, a big one. The only thing I would caution with a spray bottle is if you're in like an area where there's, say, something that can't get wet or it's a shared space, then this might not be very good, because if it oversprays into somewhere else and it gets someone's papers wet, say, or a laptop, then it becomes a problem. So be mindful of where you're using it. I enjoy wearing an apron. If you're like me, I like to wipe my hands on my pants. So this helps keep my pants a little bit cleaner, and my apron is easier to then tidy up. And then finally, you might end up wanting to use a hairdryer to help speed up the drying process. The only thing is that I usually have clay on my hands when I grab a hairdryer, so it does get kind of dirty. So it's worth considering, like, is that going to be a problem? This is a dedicated hairdryer that I use just for this. I don't actually have hair dryers that we use for hair in our house. They're all just for projects. So those are the things that are both important to have and then kind of nice to have. You don't have to have any of the nice to have things like a spray bottle or a hair dryer or an apron right away. You might just find yourself deciding as you work this year that you need them. A quick note about a spray bottle is you probably don't even need to buy one, or maybe not, if you have one already in the house that's almost empty, and if your family doesn't generally refill it, right? So this is from something else, and instead of recycling it, we just put it on another bottle, right? So just keep that in mind. Be a little bit clever in where you're looking for your supplies. You probably have a lot of them at home. And again, they're not all absolutely necessary. You can totally get by with what you already have. Okay?